reason to not be here.
I think so. All right, I think we are recording now.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for reminding me to do that.
Yes.
Um, I created a little PowerPoint so that we can have some direction with our discussion today. I tr have tried, I've been looking for someone to come in and talk to us about um, getting that help from the public schools. And I haven't found anyone, oh, pretty kitty. I haven't found anyone willing to come in and chat with us yet. I will keep looking, but so far I haven't had luck with that. I do have Hallie File has agreed to come in and talk about self-care, but she hasn't confirmed which date's going to work best for her yet. So I'll get back with you on that. Um,
Okay.
do you guys have any questions or anything in particular you want to talk about today?
Just one quick thing. Amanda, could you take attendance? I don't have my computer with me.
I'm doing that right now as we speak.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice. All right. I will share this PowerPoint and we'll just keep discussing everything. And I think, well, let me share it with you real quick and I think I can.
How do I do the sound?
Are you guys able to see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay. So I have you guys up on one screen and the PowerPoint up on the other. So I should be able to see you when you are um, talking here. All right, so we were talking about developmentally appropriate practice, and that's a kind of a term that we toss around quite a bit. And so I just wanted to go through and make sure that we all have like a clear understanding of what that truly means. So who can tell me in your own words what developmentally appropriate practices really are?
That's just making sure that the things we're asking the kids to do are reasonable requests for their age and their abilities and their um, just yeah.
That's perfect, Charity. Thank you for that. Yes, so you guys are all teaching preschool. Some of you have threes, some have fours. Am I right? Do some of you have mixed age where you have three, fours, fives? So if you have a child who's just had their third birthday, his needs are going to look a lot different than the needs of one of your older fours, right? Just because they have a birthday doesn't mean that they just like flip a switch and can do things that we might expect a 3-year-old to do. And so that's what um, we're really talking about, right? So age appropriate. So think about the children in your classroom. Which age group do you have? Is it a mixed age group? What are the expectations? What can we actually expect? Is it appropriate for us to expect our 3-year-olds to tie their shoes and write their first and last name? It's really not, right? It takes time for them to develop their hand strength and then that cognitive piece that goes to like their mind telling their hands what to do. That takes time to develop as well. And so we might expect that from some of our older fours, depending on the child, of course. But sometimes tying shoes is not a skill that's developed really until um, kindergarten. I've known first graders who still had difficulty tying their shoes. So sorry, I've got a message popped up on my screen. So what are some of those milestones that we see in the preschool age range? What are some of those things that we expect our preschooler children to learn during their time at preschool?
How to go to the bathroom unassisted?
Isn't that a wonderful one? So we can hope that when they come to us as 3-year-olds that they're potty trained. But that's not always the case. In fact, sometimes they're not even in pull-ups yet. And so, yeah, sometimes that's something that we have to really work with them on. And even our kindergartners sometimes will get busy and have a bathroom accident, right? But we can expect our 3s and 4s to, for the most part, use the bathroom and go through all the steps, the unzipping, unbuttoning, pulling up and fastening, and then washing their hands, the whole thing, right? We should be able to expect that from our typically developing 3s and 4s. We have children in our classrooms who are atypically developing and might not have the cognitive function there to really understand what we're asking, or they might not physically have that control over their bladder yet, those kinds of things. So it really is about like looking at those milestones and looking at what we can expect from most children, but then really narrowing it down to that individual children, right? What are some other things that we should expect a typical 3 or 4-year-old to learn during preschool years?
I would
Kicking or throwing
say,
a ball.
Sorry, I missed that.
sorry,
I was,
I would say social emotional, how to
Oh,
share.
Tanya, absolutely, right? When they come to us as 3-year-olds, they're not always great at sharing, they're not always great at taking turns, but that is something that we expect them to begin to catch on to, right? So day one, they might not know how to share, but well, we're in October now, so that should be something that they're kind of learning, that that's a requirement or an expectation. Some of them still might struggle with that. Our 3s, our 4s should be able to share and take turns, maybe not always, right? But most of the time. By the time they get into kindergarten, hopefully we've done our jobs well enough that we have helped them understand how to share, how to take turns, how to have a back and forth conversation with their peers and with teachers and other adults. So those are things that they're learning, and those skills are developing as they're going through our program as preschoolers. And so we have to really pay attention to like what they can do, what they know, and what are we going to do to provide activities and things like that to get them to where we really want them to be before they go into kindergarten. So if we have a child who comes to us never having been in any kind of a group setting before, their social skills are going to be much different than a child who was in early Head Start or, a group daycare center from 6 weeks up. Does that make sense? So some of our children, we're going to have to really work harder with them to help them learn those skills. And I know from reading some of your emails that you guys are experiencing some high behaviors in your classrooms. And so that's really what I wanted to just talk about. Like, what are the things that we can expect? Are we expecting too much? And sometimes are we not expecting enough, right? So if we understand developmentally appropriate practices, then we can take that information and look at the individual children and see like if it's our expectations that need to change, or if it's actually something that we can help the child to work through.
And Patsy, I was just in one of the classrooms this week, and that's exactly what I said. I said, "Are your expectations up here? And should we bring them down here?" That that's exactly what I said. So I'm so glad that you brought that up today.
Well, I'm glad you saw that. And it really, I mean, understanding what we can expect from that age group, but then knowing that it's going to be above and below depending on the child, right?
Mhm.
We can't expect every one of our children to respond the same way, because they're just not at the same level. So
Right.
yeah. Developmentally appropriate, consider the individual children in your classroom, both typically and atypically developing, and look at those, expectations, and are we being realistic with those? Sometimes it's not even us, sometimes it's the parents or the families that maybe don't understand what their expectations should be. I know that when I was goal setting one year, I had um, a parent who the first thing they said was they would like their child to be able to read a picture book by the end of the school year. And so this was like my second year, and so I'm like, oh, really? So your child knows all their letters and they can read and write their name and on all of that, so they're ready to move up to that. And they're like, oh no. So I had to help them kind of bring those expectations down a little bit to where that they were achievable and just more appropriate for that particular child. And then we also need to look at like cultural appropriateness. It's so your community is a little bit different than mine here in Nebraska. Our largest minority would be Hispanic Latino, and that's what we see mostly white children in the classroom, but then our largest minority would be the Hispanic Latino population. So I think that you see that up there as well, but then you also have a pretty significant Native American population, don't you? And so, like, if you're working with children from a culture that's something you're not familiar with or you didn't grow up with, how are you making sure that you are respecting their culture and understanding the differences in how they were raised? When they come to you in the classroom, their behaviors might be a little bit different than what you would expect based on your culture. Does that make sense? So how are you guys like planning and discussing culture? How are you being inclusive in your classrooms with that?
I know like on Alliance campus, we're very lucky because we also have like Spanish speaking teachers. So they like are able to like read stories in Spanish. We can sing some songs in Spanish. We've counted like in my 3-year-old class. And that's about all me and Jaden can do is probably count in Spanish and like and say some colors. So we try to do that. And that is just like fun for everybody. Like we've enjoyed doing that.
I love that you say that that's fun, because it should be fun, right? We should be enjoying our jobs. I struggle with learning new languages. The older you get, the more you struggle with that. I did pick up some Spanish phrases. I also picked up some sign languages, very, very basic, and that did help. So yes, that's a perfect example of making that attempt to be more inclusive and just using your own time and resources to learn some of those things. And we don't necessarily need to be proficient in a second language, but at least attempting that, right? So those three things: age, where are they developmentally, and then also their culture. those are the things that we look at to make sure that we're really being appropriate with our expectations. Do any of you have children who are from a like a Asian family who has moved into the country? Not that they were born in America, but they have moved here, and so they might still be learning English and things.
We have a student in our class that is from the Philippines, but they obviously, parents must speak English because he does not have any struggle with English. So,
Okay, good. You're lucky.
yeah.
So sometimes if we have children who come from a culture that's just very different than ours, it's just even that much harder. And like to learn a language that doesn't even use our alphabet system is extremely difficult. And so it's challenging for those children to learn English as well. So just some things to keep in mind if you ever have children from like Eastern Europe and Asia. Any questions about what we've talked about so far?
Kathy, is there cultural classes or something that would be beneficial that we could offer our teachers?
So I don't know of a multicultural class that we offer here specifically for teaching. I do offer a family and community relationships course, and we do it's a pretty it's not one of the more difficult courses. It would be an easy one for you all to go through. And we do talk about some of the different family structures and different things like that. So that would be beneficial for you guys. And so if let me see how I can phrase this. If you guys have a cohort that's large enough to make up a class, I think that I could get my admin on board with offering another section just for you guys. I would have to talk with them, but I think that they would be on board with that if we had enough numbers to make that happen. So
Okay,
something to think about in the future.
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so looking at developmentally appropriate practices and knowing that we have children coming from very different backgrounds, socioeconomic statuses. With Head Start in particular, you work with a lot of low-income families. So how can we meet the needs of our children? So I just put in this slide a little like stepping stone thing here. So the first thing we have to do is get to know the child. And hopefully by this time of year, you guys are really knowing each individual child in your classroom and are able to um, anticipate at least a little bit some of the behaviors that you might expect during different times of the day. And then knowing their families, asking the families those questions. Are you guys seeing these behaviors at home? How do you deal with them? If you're not seeing them at home, what do you recommend, right? Inviting families to come into the classroom and observe their child in the context of playing with other children, just to see some of those differences. So knowing the child, knowing the family, understanding cultural differences and the similarities as well. We have I mean, just as humans, right? We have a lot of similarities. And typically across the board, early childhood people are very empathetic. We're very understanding. We're typically some of the kindest people that I come across. And so we do pretty well with that. It's sometimes more difficult to work with parents though that maybe are not as understanding. So trying to figure out how to make those connections. know our communities and what resources are available. And what we have here in Scottsbluff is very different than what you guys have up there. But I know that there are some really great resources. I mean, we have statewide resources. We have some that are like in the panhandle, but they might not be as readily available there as they are here. So knowing what you have in your community, when parents come to us and say they're having a problem, we don't make enough money to really help them monetarily anyway, but that we wouldn't want to get that kind of thing started, but we do want to know what resources are available. If they can't pay their lights or their gas, where can we send them that might be a place that can give them some aid? Okay. And we know that if children are having those kinds of needs met, then they can come into school and learn a little bit better. And then finally, I put on there anticipating and preventing behaviors before they happen. I think you guys are doing a fantastic job of working with the behaviors as they happen, especially those really high behaviors that are really concerning. I think that in the moment you handle them, you do a great job. Just from what I've read from your emails, the thing that I think that we can work on a little bit is through knowing the children and their families and their backgrounds, trying to anticipate those behaviors and prevent them before they happen or before they escalate at least. So those are some things to really think about. And we have some pictures that we're going to look at, and we're just going to talk about what's going on in the pictures and what you think you might plan for to anticipate some of the behaviors we might expect from these situations. Sound okay? All right. All right. So in this image, what's going on? You guys might have started doing some of these activities already, or you will be soon, right? So what's happening in this picture?
They are investigating a pumpkin.
Investigating. I love that. Yes, absolutely. And does it look like the activity is well planned? Does it look like they have everything they need there on the table?
I think
Yeah.
so. It's covered. It's got a pot.
Yeah, the pumpkin's already open. We don't have to have the sharp knife out there cutting it in front of the children, right? It's ready to go.
And she has a spoon.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's pretty well planned, right? So doing this kind of activity, think about your children in your classrooms. What kind of behaviors could you expect?
Squealing.
Absolutely. So we always plan with the hope that it's going to be an educational activity that's fun, that they'll be really engaged with, right? Then what happens when that's not the case, right? So well, this child in the jumper there has some pumpkin guts on her hand, and she's very close to that other child's face with that hand. So what can you kind of expect might happen there?
Flinging of the seeds. Yeah.
And the
Mhm.
other little girl getting upset because she's got yucky stuff on her face or crying and
Yeah, absolutely.
big
Or in her
feelings.
hair, and it takes forever to get that stuff picked out of your hair. Um, and she might react in what way? When she's covered in pumpkin guts, what might she do?
I would say scream and cry. Um, she might hit back or push.
She might.
Yeah.
The other child might end up wearing that pumpkin on her head, right? We don't know these children, but think about the children in your classrooms and think about how you might plan that just a little bit better. Um, I can't really tell in this picture if that's a classroom or if it's taking place in like a home daycare. Um, a little bit more space would be very beneficial, right? It looks like they have the one pumpkin. So maybe, and and pumpkins
Okay.
in a few weeks will be pretty cheap or free, right? So we can get a lot of that stuff donated. So we might have enough for a pumpkin for each child, or at least enough to go around where we're not like working in that close of proximity. Um, what else do you think might we plan for to make this activity go a little bit more smoothly?
I would have wet wipes on the table and a trash can close by.
Yes, very good. Maybe even aprons or like big shirts for them to wear. So if they get messy, then we can clean them up a little more easily. What else might help us prevent some behaviors with this activity?
I would definitely go over rules before they get their hands in the pumpkin and let them know what their expectations are and what we're looking for.
Absolutely. Very good point, Tanya. Um, before we really, because it's different, right? We don't have pumpkins out every day. So it's really important that we explain to them what we're doing and what we expect and what they're allowed to do. And are we still going to have some behaviors? Probably, because it's
Yeah.
different, right? And it's going to take them a little while to get used to. But if we go over it beforehand, that's going to prevent at least some of the behaviors that we might see. Okay. Do you guys see anything else that we might do to help prevent behaviors? How many of you guys have an activity like this planned for your classrooms? Nobody? Nobody's going to do pumpkins this year?
I feel like there's I know Tanya probably will, and maybe Shattering.
It's a great activity. Yes, it's a little messy, but it's okay to be a little messy. Um, we have
Swimmy, are you? Raise your hand.
We usually do pumpkins.
okay.
One time we forgot to dump out our sensory table on the Thursday and we came back Monday morning to a very stinky and moldy sensory table. It was not fun.
Oh no.
Yeah, that happens. Yep, for sure. Um, I would really encourage this kind of activity as long as you plan for you can't plan for all of the things that might go wrong, but at least plan for everything that you can think of. Some children have this sensory issue and they won't put their hands in it. But they might stand and watch, they might show some curiosity, or they might need an alternate activity too. It depends on the children, and you should know your children by now, but you'll continue getting to know them as the school year goes, right? And so I kind of found that when I did pumpkins, I was surprised by one or two of the children who didn't want to get messy. I mean, they were always in the Play-Doh and in the paint and everything, but they didn't want to be in the pumpkins. So, um, it's another way to get to know your children a little better.
I was gonna ask them, what would you guys offer for them to be able to just still try to get into the pumpkins? What could you give them?
You could put it in a Ziploc bag. Oh, sorry, Tanya. Like you could I was already thinking about that for like my friends who don't like finger painting. They don't like that kind of stuff. Like I have this one kiddo who loves sand and he loves Play-Doh. But like when it comes to like finger painting and like all that, he doesn't like, or shaving cream, he doesn't like that. So I would just put it in a Ziploc bag and have him do it that way. I think he'd like it like that.
That's a great idea. Tanya, what were you going to say?
The same thing. Yeah, that's usually what we do so they can feel it and enjoy it, the seeds and all that mushiness and stuff. Another thing is we would get I want to try this year. I haven't done it yet, but slime with the pumpkin seeds in our sensory table. So
Yes.
it's
Yeah,
we'll
very
see.
nice. All right. Let's go ahead and look at our next picture here. So this is clearly in a home, right? It might be a home daycare or it might be siblings. But what do you think about this activity? Do you think it was planned well? It's kind of like free choice time, right? Or work time. What do you guys call that when they work in their centers?
Free choice.
Free choice.
If
So if
each one
they were
does different.
choosing to play with that building set during free choice time, what kind of behaviors do you think you might see there?
I think with the young child working with the older child, I think there'd be excitement just to see. I'm assuming something rolls down or something like excitement. And I mean, as long as they know how to share, I think it would be an enjoyed activity.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great thing to say, as long as they know how to share. So we need to teach them that prior to some of these activities, right? Um, if these were kids in your classroom and you had one of your youngest children in your classroom working with one of your oldest, what would that look like? What kind of behaviors might you see?
That
Correct.
tower's gonna get knocked over.
Inevitably something's going to get knocked over. And then what do we see?
I think some of the older children just might want to work alone. They,
Mhm.
just tired of the little ones or, not wanting to share. At first it would be okay, but after a long time, they'd be like, okay, I want to go work over here by myself. But
And we do see that, right?
yeah,
So we have to think about how we're going to handle that situation. Are we okay with them taking the materials elsewhere or asking the other child to go away while they play with it? Or do we want them to always play together or share together? Is there a way that we can divide the materials up so that, two different groups can play or two different children can play? Um, if we don't have a plan for that, we are going to see behaviors. That structure, whatever that is gonna it's gonna get knocked over. Somebody's gonna get upset. What happens after that? We're never sure. It depends on the child. Somebody might get hit or screaming at the very least. So we need to make sure we have a plan for that kind of thing. Does that make sense? What I'm talking about here? So when we think about developmentally appropriateness and we put it in the context of some of these situations, how can we make sure that we're being appropriate with our expectations? Is it appropriate for us to expect all 5-year-olds to get along with 3-year-olds and play together well all day long? We can expect it, but we're not going to be happy with the results there. So just keep an open mind with some of that and think about, like, what are your expectations with this type of activity and what can you do to make sure or to try to prevent some of the behaviors that will likely happen. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go on to the next one. Oops. All right, what do you notice here? What kind of behaviors do you think you might see in this situation out on your playground? You guys all have slides, right? Okay.
Generally on slides, I see kids trying to climb up the slide or kids wanting to go on the slide right after the other one. And so shoving or saying, hey, move it, or hurry, hurry, those kind of things.
So you know beforehand that you can expect some of those things, right? So how can you prevent those from happening?
Well, I tend to, if there's a lot of kids interested in the slide, I tend to just stand by the slide. And if I've got some pokey kids, then I try to tickle them or, pretend like I'm going to scare them or get them or something. And then they'll squeal and hurry down the slide. And then, of course, I'm stuck doing that for the next half hour, but they have a lot of fun with it. So.
They do enjoy that. They enjoy that attention. And just the proximity of having yourself be close to an area where you know you might see some behavioral issues. If you're right there, that will prevent some of them from happening. And then the ones that do happen, because you're right there, you can keep them from escalating, right? So that's perfect. Um, with this little guy, if we had somebody trying to climb up the slide, um, he might be in danger of falling, right? So it's a safe, slides are a little bit scary if, if there's safety issues. So we have to make sure we have our rules, right? So I don't necessarily agree with not allowing children to climb up the slide because I think that can provide a lot of opportunities for muscle development and stability, things like that. But we do need to have rules, right? So if everybody's climbing up the slide, then we shouldn't have other people trying to climb up the stairs, and because they'll get to the top and someone's gonna come down. um, Probably not in a good way, right? What other kinds of behaviors would you anticipate in this situation?
I would anticipate like children climbing up the slide, like not the ladder, but up the slide. So we have a rule, down the slide and up the stairs. Like I'm constantly yelling that all the time. Down the slide and up the stairs.
Yes,
So
and if that's your rule and it's clear and they know it, then that's an expectation that is perfectly appropriate, right? Because you've gone over it, they understand it. There's still some that will want to do that. They want to test their boundaries, right? Um, there's just a lot of things that will happen outside that won't necessarily happen inside. And so our proximity, like Charity said, just kind of being there is super important. I can't tell you how many times I've driven by a playground and children would be out for recess, and typically it's elementary children, but the the adults that are on the playground watching will be like grouped together, two or three adults together, and the children are kind of doing whatever. So we want to make sure that we're spreading ourselves out during outdoor time and that it's not a time for us to get together and chat. It's a time for us to really, like Charity said, just like be there and work with the children and make sure we're preventing some of those behaviors that we anticipate.
We talk about zoning even while we're outside. We talk about zoning inside, there's zoning outside as well. That's important.
It's very important, yes. Especially if, like, I don't know if any of you guys do, but some playgrounds will have that like L shape. And so you won't be able to see the kids on the other side. Those those are really important for zoning. Yeah. Good point. All right. What about this situation?
well, if there were children in my classroom, I would probably say one of those children are going to get hit with one of those toys just because of the age group.
So that's perfect, Tanya. You're looking at the age range for developmentally appropriate practices. You know to expect some of that, right?
Mhm.
Um, What can we do to prevent that from happening?
I would be, like you said, close range around them, and definitely if you see that hand go up, try to stop it. And just explain, um, we're using like, please stop. I don't like that, so definitely use that. Just help them understand, we need to share, we need to ask, play, ask them to play and physically help them do that and understand that, all we gotta do is ask. So,
It's true. So with these two, they're very young. They might not even quite be 3 yet. But our expectations need to be where the children are, right? Not where we want them to be. That's our job to teach them and to scaffold them to that next level. But we need to anticipate that they're not prepared yet to share willingly or take turns willingly, right? We have to um, teach them some of those skills. And so I know that I know that some of you have older children in your classrooms that still struggle with some of those social skills as well. So getting to know the child themselves as well as their age is really important.
Matt, I was in Maddie's classroom this week, and she's got littles. She teaches this really well with her kiddos um, on sharing, and and using conscious discipline as well as while she was doing that. And so that was really amazing to see because I think a lot of these are just 3, and
I love
it's
to
a
hear
hard
that.
skill.
Yes, yes. I love to hear that because if we're doing our jobs when we're working with the younger ones, we're going to be helping the teachers who are going to be working with those same children when they move to the next classroom, right? And they're going to be helping their teachers, their kindergarten teachers, and it just escalates, right? So if we're making sure that we're doing what the children need us to do, everyone's just going to be a lot more successful. I love to hear that.
One thing I think of when I see that picture is you had 2 orange pieces, 2 yellow pieces, but only 1 blue and 1 green. I
And of
think it
course,
might
that
be
will be what they
good.
want.
Yeah, those are the 2 that they're going to be fighting over. So having more than one for this age group until they are able to get that concept of sharing, having that available to them.
That's perfect. So,
Mm.
like if you have a bin of the little cars and you only have one fancy red car, just take it
Mhm.
out until you can get more of those because that's asking for behavioral issues, right?
Yeah.
Good point.
Yep.
All right. We don't have much time left. You guys, since I was late, do you want to go over a few minutes? Are you okay with that, or do you want to stop right at 9?
It's fine. I mean, unless others have things they need to do. Donica?
Yeah, that's fine. I guess if somebody has something they need to do, they can leave, but I think
I,
we're good.
I
okay.
think we're good.
I only have a couple more pictures here to go over, but
Perfect.
so this is clearly out in a neighborhood, and the child's out in his street in his neighborhood, trying to ride this bike. But imagine that it was in your outdoor area. What what kinds of things would you anticipate happening here?
Getting frustrated because they can't push it, use both feet,
Hmm. You can
using
tell
those
that
big
one
gross
little,
motor skills.
yeah, that one little foot that's almost on the ground there is just the toes. He's not really, the bike is too high for him a little bit,
Mhm.
right? So yeah, very much frustration because they can't even use their feet to go. They have to.
And you could see it on his face a little bit. He's looking down and he's like, "Mhm," just a little too short.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, And we all know that the children, when it's warm, they wear like the sandal kind of shoes, and that can be dangerous sometimes too, right? Um, if we had other children in this picture riding bikes, then what could we expect?
Crashing together.
Yes, I was gonna say the same thing. I'm constantly like, eyes are watching, eyes are watching. We're watching for our friends because they are not watching. They're just pedaling.
Uh,
I
Absolutely.
another
immediately saw the back bumper and thought there's going to be a kid on that before you know it.
And I'm going to go off of what Donica said out of that last picture. You need to make sure there's more than one red bike, because if there's the only one red bike, there's going to be a fight over this red bike.
And
There will be.
completely off subject, another thing would be Miss Tanya's frustration because there's a bell on that bike. I'd be like, no more bell.
That's funny. Yeah, that's very funny. I'm gonna make a note because I'll bring up something next week. Or not next week, but the next time we meet. Um, thanks for bringing that up, Tanya. All right, so a little bit dangerous. Children riding on the bike, like on the back of the bike, trying to like hang on to their shoulders, but I mean, they're going to end up choking them, right, to try to hang on. We just really, again, have to go over those rules and expectations and let them learn how to follow the rules. Um, we have bikes like this. We have bikes with no pedals, and they're they're going to fight over one or the other, whichever one we have the least of usually. So, what are other things that we could do to kind of anticipate and kind of troubleshoot before those behaviors happen?
Oh, we can make sure the bikes we offer are developmentally appropriate.
Very good, Charity. And you know that our 3-year-olds are a little bit short, right? And our 5-year-olds are taller. So we have when we have those mixed age classrooms, and we only have so much funding, right? We can only buy so many bikes. So it makes it really difficult. We may end up having to like create a list, maybe get a little whiteboard out and have them sign up for their turn, and they can learn taking turns that way. Um, but you're absolutely right. If that's not the right size or the right skill level for them, it's going to end up frustrating them, and we'll see behaviors with their frustration.
Well,
You
and
know,
with the sandals thing, often we'll send notes home to parents, just reminding them, hey, appropriate footwear is very important on the playground. There might be sand or there might be mulch or whatever. And so we try to remind parents of that. And just it coming on fall made me think, we were also trying to get our parents to make sure to bring an extra jacket or something because we have kids coming in with either really warm clothes because it's cold in the morning, and then by the time we're outside playing, it's 85 degrees outside, or vice versa. They're coming with shorts and a t-shirt, and then we're expecting storms and or windy weather later. So just that was something on my mind too.
Those reminder notes home are so important because parents get busy. They're rushing to get the child into the classroom so they can make it to work. And they don't always, it's chilly. Like, so put your hoodie on so you can be nice and warm today. And then like today it's going to be in the high 80s here. So that's not going to work to have a hoodie on in the afternoon. So that's a perfect point to, just communicate with the parents, and let them know also that not only will their child be more comfortable, they're going to learn better when they're more comfortable. They're going to be safer, right? All of those things, that as a busy parent, we just don't always think about. So good point. All right, let's move on to this next one here. All right, so puzzles. You guys all have puzzles in your classrooms, right? That's one of our fine motor manipulative things that are so good for children to learn how to turn their hands and use all of the muscles in their fingers. What kinds of things might behaviors might we expect with this activity?
Frustration.
Absolutely.
This guy's pretty little. He might, be great at putting this puzzle together, but 9 times out of 10, it might be too difficult.
Yeah.
So
Oh, sorry,
go ahead.
I was kind of thinking the same thing. Like if this was I was just looking at his size, like if he was like a fresh three, I would think that he needs like the puzzles with like the
The
um
pegs.
yeah, the pegs, like the peg puzzles. That's kind of what I start my kids out with. And then we kind of go from there and like they're still able to manipulate them and to fit, but that way it's not all of those pieces all at once because that can be like a little overwhelming.
It absolutely is overwhelming. And it's overwhelming for us when they get several puzzles out and we have to try to figure out which pieces go to which puzzle. That was a struggle for me as well. Um, yes, and so just like with the bikes, right? We need the puzzles that are appropriate for the children that are using them. So the ones with the pegs, um, if we have a mixed age classroom, we can ask another, like an older child, to help them out with this puzzle, and they can do some of that, like scaffolding and teaching. Children love to learn from older kids, and the older children learn how to be more patient, and they learn more about empathy when they're helping younger. So it's the mixed age groups are great in many ways. Um, Although there's other complications with mixed age too. But what if this child were in a classroom with threes, fours, and fives? What are some of the behaviors we might anticipate there other than frustration?
I think he would like learn more just because he has this puzzle and he sees the other children completing this puzzle, that maybe he would, and it would also give him a good opportunity or give teachers a good opportunity to teach him how to handle frustration when he does get frustrated and how the other children do it and what they do to problem solve.
Yeah, absolutely. So he could learn a little bit about sharing, right? Having another child come in and help him put it together. He could learn a little bit about colors, right? Maybe not letters at this age, but he could at least start being familiar with seeing letters. Um, there's so many things that they learn from puzzles like this, but you guys are right. The pegs for the younger threes typically are a lot easier for them to manipulate. And the cognition isn't there yet either. So they don't have the fine motor or the cognitive piece that they need to really put this type of puzzle together. Whereas our older fours, this might be a super boring puzzle for them. There's no challenge there because they've done it so many times, right? Anything else we want to talk about there? All right, homework. So I do hope that each of you will take the time to just do this. I think it will be fun, and I know that it will be valuable to you to just kind of reflect on some of this, okay? So I'd like you to just reflect on your job. How do you feel about your job? Do you love it? Is it sometimes frustrating? Are you overwhelmed? Do you have what you need to be successful in your job? So just reflect on how you're feeling about your job. And then think and go ahead and write that down like a paragraph, right? And then why did you choose to become a teacher? Or why are you working in childcare if you're not in the classroom teaching? What was your purpose, your driving goal to be working with children? And then why do you love your job? Even on those days when you might be super frustrated, maybe everybody has the bells out in Tanya's room and she's kind of going nuts, right? What are some of the things that even beyond that that you just love about your job? And then why do you want to continue working with children? Really think about that. Like if you're happy with your job, some of those reasons might be why you want to continue. If there are things frustrating you, um, what's your goal? What's your driving goal to continue working with children? Um, so that's kind of like just thinking about the you and doing some self-reflection. And then the next piece is give a coworker a compliment about their teaching style. It has to be something more than, oh, I really like your hair today, right? It has to be something specific. Just like when we compliment children on something they've done well, right? We want specific information. Um, just be honest, make it very specific. And then when you're done with that, go ahead and type out the compliment that you gave, or just like a description of the compliment that you gave, and then also the compliment that you received. Okay. So somebody in your classroom or somebody in your program needs to make sure that everybody's giving and receiving. Okay. And when you are jotting down the compliment that you received, write how that made you feel to get that compliment. Okay. And then go ahead and email that to me by the 17th if you can. The Monday after the 17th at the latest. That way I can get you your feedback before we meet again on the 24th. What do you guys think of that assignment? Doable?
I
Okay.
think so.
So the self-reflection piece is really important for your self-care, right? The more you understand about how you're feeling about your situation, the better you can think of things that you might need to change in your habits or your routines or whatever. So this is an important piece for your self-care. Then this last slide, I have all of your Zoom meetings there. My email is there if you don't have that already. And I emailed this to Donica this morning. Donica, if you don't see that email, let me know and I'll send it to you again. So if you guys want this PowerPoint, you can have that.
Are you going to send the PowerPoint out?
I can send it out to everyone.
Okay, that'd
I
be
can do
great. I did
Can you,
get your
yeah,
email.
can you send those last two so everybody make sure to have those? Just I know that second week when you want homework due, we have a conference coming up, so I don't want them to forget that, i.e.
Abs-
me, forget to do
Absolutely.
our homework.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know it's hard because you guys are busy and you get into the classroom and you're working with children and everything else kind of goes out the window when you're working with children. I do understand that, but taking the time to take care of yourself is really important too. And this will help you with that.
It will. It really will. And giving compliments, I try to do that with our staff. And I know that some don't accept them as well, and I think that is going to be good for them as well because they deserve to hear it.
They do. Absolutely. All right. Is there anything in particular? I will find out from Hallie when she is able to commit to us one of these dates to talk about self-care more. But is there anything in particular for next time that you want me to focus on, or just whatever I want to?
Anybody have any
I thought this
ideas?
was I thought this was great, and it brings us back to where we need to be. thinking
Okay.
about, you know,
Okay, good, good. That's what I was hoping, like looking at some of those images would kind of get you thinking about your own children in your classrooms, like similar situations. All right. Anything else we need to talk about today?
I don't think so.
Okay. I apologize again for being late this morning and also for missing last time when we had it set up. I completely lost my voice. We could have met, but you guys would have been doing all the talking because I couldn't. So, but I apologize for that.
Well, I'm glad
maybe
you're
that
feeling
would be
better.
Thank you.
maybe that would be good for them. Everybody start talking and
Okay.
maybe maybe that would be a good one.
All
And
right. I
then
will see what I can come up with for an activity or something where you guys have to talk more.
and and then now when you don't see me on a Zoom, you'll know that they have come out.
Oh gosh. All right. Well, you guys have a good next couple of weeks and enjoy your conference you're going to. And Tanya, I will see you in a couple weeks also, right? So perfect. All right. Thank you guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.